Hello there, Harry Potter fans. Welcome back to our page. Here we are with Backward with Purpose, Part 1, Always and Always, by Dead Woodpecker, Chapter 11, Interlude, Albus Dumbledore.
Chapter 11. Interlude, Albus Dumbledore. Chapter text. Albus Dumbledore paced his office, trying not to listen to the broken sobs of Molly Weasley. When the Weasleys had first arrived, he had been confident that Ginny Weasley would be found safe and sound. Harry Potter and Ron Weasley would bring her back to the office, where a joyful reunion would be shared by all. He checked his watch he had bought for himself on his 17th birthday for the 5th time in as many minutes. He had last seen Harry and Ron outside a Transfiguration classroom. That was 3 hours ago. What had gone wrong? Though the thought was terrible, Albus could not help but consider the possibility that all three were lost. True, Harry and Ron might have been petrified. They both knew very well not to look at the basilisk. But the basilisk still had fangs, and the diary was slowly sapping Ginny Weasley's life away. One more thing, he muttered to the Weasleys, who did not appear to be listening to him. He knew it was desperate. He knew that even the Elder Wand had its limits. But he gathered up as much force as he could, whispered, Hominum Revelio, and sent it through the walls in the direction of the Chamber of Secrets. Nothing. He looked at Fawkes. He remained stubbornly on his perch, and seemed completely unaware of the tension and grief in the room. He was preening his tail feathers. From what he had seen in the Pensieve, Fawkes had brought Harry the sorting hat, from which he could draw Gryffindor's sword. But Fawkes was still here. Albus, Mr. Weasley said, "Are you sure that you don't know who is opening the chamber?" He had asked this question several times before. Albus knew where he was leading, but refused to allow thoughts and conversations to drift that way. "No, I do not," he lied. "We have been conducting an investigation, of course, but nothing has been conclusive." Arthur Weasley grimaced as though he were in physical pain. "My daughter is down there," he stated, "and we don't know why, or who, or how." "Albus, you're certain that it isn't?" Thankfully, Minerva McGonagall took that moment to pound on the door and, without waiting for a reply, pushed it open. Her face was set in grim lines. Albus had not seen her quite so undone since she, and Hagrid had left Harry on the doorstep of number 4, Privet Drive. There was a movement from behind her, and Hermione Granger stepped out, tears streaking down her face. Minerva set a hand on her shoulder. "We have." She glanced over at Mr. and Mrs. Weasley and looked away, as though she could not bear to see their grief a moment longer. "We have several more students missing, Albus." Albus watched her. Several meant more than 2, which meant that Harry and Ron had possibly run into trouble before they even made it to the Chamber of Secrets. "Who?" he asked. "Harry Potter, Ron W. Weasley, and Neville Longbottom," she answered, keeping her eyes fixed on his. Mrs. Weasley screamed and fell into one of the armchairs Albus had conjured for the Weasleys. Hermione sobbed, and fresh tears tracked down her face. "I didn't even notice they were missing," she said through sobs. Not until a few minutes before Professor Emma McGonagall came in. "It's true," Albus McGonagall said. "They are not in the dorms, nor have they been seen in the dorms or common room all this afternoon." Mr. Weasley drew himself up to his full height. "What exactly do you think is happening?" Albus suddenly felt very old. "Arthur," he said quietly, but the other man, who now had 2 children missing, ignored him. "I think we deserve to know. Is there any possible way that Harry Potter is opening the Chamber of Secrets?" "Harry wouldn't," Hermione cried. "He wouldn't. He isn't the heir of Slytherin. I know he isn't. He has shown that he has skills beyond his second year." Arthur pressed. "And he speaks Parseltongue, like Slytherin. I saw his face when he looked at that Umbridge woman. He was not only angry, he wanted to kill her." "I don't believe he wanted to kill her," Albus lied. "He had just had some very nasty allegations leveled at him. Both he and your son did. And Harry just studies more," Hermione said, her face bright red. "Hermione," Arthur said, "I appreciate your loyalty to your friend, but if you have seen anything suspicious, anything at all, you need to tell me now." She shook her head silently. Albus wanted to applaud her. Obviously, The 3 time travelers had loved this one so desperately, for good reason. Loyal and brave, a true Gryffindor. He glanced over at where Fawkes still stood on his perch. He had thought he'd seen the phoenix move out of the corner of his eye, but that had only been wishful thinking. "Where were you when you last saw them?" Arthur asked. "It was all right after Transfiguration," she answered at once. "Why did they leave you?" They said they had a detention with Professor Snape," she said. Albus closed his eyes. "Did you see them leave for the dungeons?" Minerva asked. "No," she answered. "They ran off." "Albus," Minerva turned to him. "I'm quite certain that Weasley and Potter did not have detention with Professor Snape today. We had our staff meeting for the teachers this morning, and he did not say a word about it. He generally gloats." "Perhaps they forgot the day," Albus murmured, though he knew that this was not nearly enough to halt what was now going to happen. "Harry, where are you?" This was right after Transfiguration. Minerva asked sharply, right before Ginny Weasley was taken into the chamber. "Yes," Hermione said hesitantly. "Which direction did they run off to?" They ran toward the hospital wing," she said reluctantly. "Which is also the direction of that bathroom," Arthur said. His face slowly flushed to a bright red. Molly's sobs were slowing, and she finally looked up. Her brown eyes flashed with anger and grief. "I told you," Hermione said bravely. "Harry would never hurt Ginny, and Ron would be the last person to hurt his sister. Unless he had his will taken away," Molly said sharply. "Potter knows about the Imperius curse. It could be another spell he practices on Ron." Silence fell over the headmaster's office, and Albus wanted to put his head in his hands. He had only one ally in this room. One person who did not, on some level, suspect Harry, and she was only 13 years old. Fawkes trilled. It was a sound that usually had the ability to comfort him beyond anything else. But now it made him uneasy and wary, because Fawkes should have been gone hours ago. Where was Harry on the night of Halloween? Arthur asked. "He was in the common room," she answered. "In the common room," he said flatly. "Why wasn't he at the feast?" "He said he didn't feel well," Hermione said. Ginny didn't feel well either. Albus stared at the girl, willing her to remain strong, willing her trust in Harry not to break. The other adults exchanged significant looks. He did not want to remain silent any longer, but he could not possibly tell them why he trusted Harry, Ron, and Ginny beyond all doubt. It was far, far too soon. All of them knew it. He had enough time. That explains why they were both. "If he's hurt Ron and Ginny, we'll get to the bottom of this. I assure you." "Thank you, Minerva. When he returns to the common room, I'll ensure that he gives us satisfactory answers." "Miss Granger." Hermione started and looked away. They both had been completely silent while the others had damned Harry. The evidence they had, going by what they had seen and witnessed, was damning, he had to admit. If Harry did not return, Albus feared that he would be remembered as the student who had killed several others. Albus closed his eyes again, feeling for the first time since he was 18 years old, utterly impotent. "Return to your common room," Minerva said. "Come straight back to us if Potter returns. Do you understand?" He didn't do. "Miss Granger, you have never been one to directly disobey an order from a teacher. Do not start tonight," Minerva threatened, her lips a thin line. Hermione left, closing the door quietly behind her. "Harry Potter is not opening the Chamber of Secrets," Dumbledore said firmly. "How can you possibly believe that he isn't?" Molly flared up at once. "Everything points to it. His mysterious absence from the feast on Halloween, his knowledge of advanced spells, the fact that he made Ron run with him right before my daughter was taken into the chamber. How can you possibly believe otherwise?" "You don't even know Potter," Minerva pointed out. "You've only spoken to him once." "Yes," Albus admitted, "right after he saved the Philosopher's Stone from Lord Voldemort." "This has nothing to do with you-know-who," Arthur said. "It has everything to do with Voldemort." He stared around at them and felt the horrible certainty that things were going to get worse, a lot worse, before they got better. If Harry managed to save Ginny, if he was not dead, then suspicion would be deflected. But what he saw on these people's faces was not momentary. It had its roots in that damn article. The shadow of the Chosen One's terrible power was like a presence in the room, feeding the distrust until it became surety. It would not go away, not really, until the truth was told, which would, unfortunately, be years. That is, if Harry survived this night. What is happening? As soon as the thought crossed his mind, Fawkes let out a loud cry. He spread his graceful wings the color of flame, leapt into the air, grabbed the sorting hat from its shelf, and disappeared in a bright flash of fire.